And welcome back. A smooth ride on the Grand Central Parkway out near LaGuardia, 7:41 on this Sunday morning. And it's a showdown between New York Governor David Paterson and the state legislature with the threat of a state government shutdown looming. Both sides made some bold political moves this weekend, but who has the upper hand? Joining us is New York Daily News political columnist Errol Louis. Great to have you here.
Good to see you.
And we've heard this before, this imminent shutdown of state government. What makes this time different?
This is a little different. There have been 14 extensions, and along the way, the governor has snuck in some actual budget items. So a lot of the budget has actually been accomplished. Also, this is kind of a real serious one because the June 30th deadline for the city is really important, and the city can't really prepare its budget in a realistic way until it knows what the state's going to do. So even if there's only a few hours in between the closing of the one and the conclusion of the city budget, they've got to get it done right now.
So they're meeting today in a special session, and there's a couple sticking points here that we want to talk about. First of all, cuts in education. Governor proposed about $600 million in cuts. The legislature wants to put that back in, but it's not clear how they're going to pay for that restoration.
And not only is it not clear how they're going to pay for it, but they actually differ on higher education, which doesn't often get talked about. But the governor has put in a proposal to let the different SUNY campuses charge different tuition, something that many other states do, but New York has never done. You pay the same amount in Cortland as you pay in New York City. And so what you end up doing now is having a policy debate that's going to be disguised as a budget debate. And whether or not the Assembly in particular can come up with the revenue, totally up to them. I got to say also that the revenue numbers are very strange and very squishy. You know, they're throwing out budget estimates, for example, over $200 million for the sale of development rights at Aqueduct. Well, that process, it started, it stopped. There's no bid process going on. Is it going to be $200 million, $300 million? We really don't know. Likewise with this idea of selling wine in grocery stores. They think they're going to get $300 million from selling licenses. This has never been tried before. Who knows what the number's going to be?
The governor, it appears, this time is playing some hardball here. Is that surprising to you, given the fact that he's a lame duck who's had some, trouble in recent times?
The governor strikes me as not only consistent with what he's been saying for over a year now, but somewhat liberated by the fact that he's not running for re-election. So he's jamming through stuff that would be so horribly unpopular, nobody running for office would want any part of it. And that's why there's this deadlock right now. The people in the Senate and the Assembly, they don't want their names on a bill that so dramatically slashes services all across the board. The governor, he can live with it because he's not running for re-election this fall.
All right. I saw a poll recently, Quinnipiac poll, said 83% of the people who were polled think that the legislature is dysfunctional. We've called it a circus in Albany here on Channel 2. Why is it such a mess?
Well, I'll tell you, I think, frankly, and I'll take some of the blame myself, I think we've probably gone a little too overboard in the media in characterizing it as a clown show and as a problem and so forth. The reality is there are some structural problems that have just got to get fixed. No legislature, no matter how talented and how diligent, if you have a tax deadline, as we all know, of April 15th, and then you expect them to have a budget done by May 1st, you're setting yourself up for failure year after year, and that's just what we do. We don't account for recurring expenses. We don't account for recurring revenues. The budget process has got to be reformed before we can even seriously talk about whether or not they're doing their job properly.
All right, the deadline's looming, right? Tomorrow?
Yes, indeed. We're facing another shutdown, although the legislature has planned something that, in effect, is going to be extra innings, and they may, in fact, extend this process beyond Monday. As always with Albany, you can never really tell what's going on until it actually happens.
All right, Errol Louis from the Daily News. Thank you so much. Great to talk to you this morning. You can follow up-to-the-minute developments as a possible state shutdown draws closer on our website, WCBSTV.com. Mary?